What if the key to a happier, more fulfilling life isn't about trying harder, but about letting go? Imagine that by caring less about control, success, or even the opinions of others, you could finally achieve real peace. This idea is at the heart of Michel de Montaigne's philosophy, a man who believed that true wisdom comes from embracing uncertainty and surrendering to the natural flow of life. For centuries, thinkers and philosophers have pondered what it truly means to live well, seeking answers to life's most profound questions. How do we achieve true happiness? How do we find wisdom? While many have tried to offer solutions, one philosopher who radically challenged the norms and offered a unique perspective on life was Michel de Montaigne, a French thinker from the 16th century. Central to the intellectual movement of the Renaissance, Montaigne's essays offered a distinct approach to human life and thought. Montaigne believed that instead of chasing a life of rigid perfection, we should learn to embrace our imperfections. Rather than obsessing over the future or things beyond our control, he urged us to focus on the present moment, the here and now. His ideas, though centuries old, are shockingly relevant today, especially in a world where perfectionism and constant worry about what's to come often dominate our lives. But what exactly did Montaigne mean when he said that true wisdom lies in not caring too much? How can letting go, embracing uncertainty, and accepting imperfection truly transform our lives? How can this shift in mindset help us experience peace, emotional freedom, and live more authentically? These are powerful questions that continue to resonate today. We live in a world obsessed with control and perfection, constantly worrying about the future while forgetting to live fully in the present. But Montaigne's wisdom offers us a liberating alternative. The answer begins with a simple, yet profoundly transformative, act: letting go. Letting go of control, the art of living freely. Montaigne believed that life is inherently unpredictable, and trying to control every facet of it only leads to frustration. He famously wrote, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened." This poignant statement captures the essence of his philosophy, a deep awareness of how much energy we waste in attempting to control what is beyond our influence. His writings urge us to reflect on how often our anxieties and struggles are not truly based in reality but are born from the mind's incessant desire to predict, plan, and control the future. Montaigne's stance on control is clear: the more we resist the uncertainty of life, the more we suffer. We are continuously fighting against the flow of existence, creating unnecessary tension where peace could be. Instead of resisting life's unpredictable nature, Montaigne proposes that we embrace it. He doesn't suggest recklessness, but rather a mindful acceptance of the present moment and the unfolding of events without excessive analysis or fear of the unknown. He recognized that overthinking is a natural human instinct, yet it traps us in cycles of worry, preventing us from experiencing life as it is. This surrender to the natural rhythm of life, according to Montaigne, isn't about being passive. It's about cultivating the courage to step back, trust in the process, and allow things to unfold as they will, rather than forcing outcomes. There is a freedom in letting go of control, one that opens us up to experiencing life in its full, unfiltered richness. Montaigne's skepticism wasn't just a rejection of external authority or societal norms, but a profound understanding of human nature. He saw that people often create their own suffering by trying to manipulate every detail of their lives. This relentless desire to control outcomes creates an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Our need for predictability and security, Montaigne suggested, leads us to miss the beauty and opportunities that arise from life's uncertainties. He invited us to shift our focus from trying to control everything to accepting what is beyond our reach. This acceptance, in turn, enables us to deal with challenges more gracefully and with less resistance, much like the teachings of modern Stoicism and mindfulness, which similarly highlight the importance of focusing only on what we can directly influence. One of Montaigne's most profound insights, and perhaps his most liberating, was that true freedom doesn't come from external circumstances or achievements, but from within. The real power, he suggested, is not in shaping the world around us, but in our ability to shape our emotional and mental responses. This paradox is at the core of many aspects of life. Whether it's in relationships, careers, or personal growth, the more we try to force things into being, the more we hold ourselves back. When we let go of our desperate need to control, we open ourselves to the possibility of natural progress. Things can develop more effortlessly when we stop intervening with force and instead allow space for organic growth to unfold. Ironically, by releasing control, we gain greater control over our emotional well-being and inner peace. In today's world, scientific research supports Montaigne's insights, confirming that excessive control-seeking behavior leads to higher levels of stress and anxiety. Studies in psychology have shown that individuals who attempt to control everything around them often experience an increase in negative emotions, including frustration and fear. In contrast, people who practice cognitive flexibility, being open to change and adjusting to it, rather than resisting it, tend to be more resilient, happier, and better equipped to face life's challenges. This shift in perspective, from striving for control to cultivating adaptability, creates a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with uncertainty. Montaigne's wisdom, therefore, resonates deeply in the context of modern psychological understanding. Letting go of control, far from being a passive act, is actually a powerful step toward achieving mental well-being and personal growth. The art of letting go, as Montaigne wisely put it, is not just about relinquishing our grip on the uncontrollable, it's about embracing life with all its uncertainties, trusting in the process, and finding peace in the fluidity of existence. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful way forward is to stop trying to force everything into place and instead allow life to take its natural course. The paradox of freedom lies in this very act of surrender. By relinquishing the need to control, we gain the freedom to experience life in its most authentic and unencumbered form. Embracing imperfection, the beauty of being human. Perfectionism is often regarded as a desirable trait, a standard to strive for in the pursuit of excellence. In modern society, we are encouraged to improve ourselves, refine our skills, and achieve flawless performance in every aspect of life. However, Montaigne, with his keen understanding of human nature, believed that perfectionism is not only unrealistic but a major source of unnecessary suffering. He argued that human nature is inherently flawed, and thus, the pursuit of perfection is both futile and exhausting. Instead of aiming for an unattainable ideal, Montaigne championed the virtues of self-acceptance and the appreciation of life's inevitable imperfections. In his eyes, true fulfillment comes not from being flawless, but from embracing who we are, flaws and all. Montaigne's perspective was revolutionary for his time. The Renaissance, a period that emphasized humanism and the pursuit of intellectual and moral excellence, was deeply influenced by ideals of virtue and perfection. Society held rigid standards of what it meant to be virtuous, moral, and successful. Yet Montaigne dared to challenge these ideals, proposing that imperfection is not a weakness to be hidden, but a defining characteristic of the human experience. His essays are filled with reflections on the beauty of mistakes, the necessity of failure, and the contradictions that define us. Through his writings, Montaigne encouraged individuals to step away from the pressure of conforming to unattainable standards and instead embrace their authentic selves. He believed that only by accepting our imperfections could we truly experience the richness of life. Modern psychology has increasingly echoed Montaigne's insights, revealing the psychological toll of perfectionism. Research shows that perfectionism is linked to higher levels of stress, anxiety, and even depression. In the relentless pursuit of flawlessness, individuals often feel overwhelmed by their perceived inadequacies, leading to feelings of constant dissatisfaction. Perfectionism fuels a cycle of self-criticism and chronic frustration, making it difficult to ever feel truly at peace. On the other hand, studies indicate that individuals who practice self-compassion, those who acknowledge and accept their flaws, tend to experience greater well-being, resilience, and emotional stability. Embracing imperfections and treating oneself with kindness fosters a healthier relationship with the self, reducing the psychological burden that comes with perfectionistic striving. In this way, Montaigne's philosophy promotes a more balanced approach to self-improvement, one that focuses on growth, learning, and self-acceptance, rather than aspiring to unreachable ideals. At the heart of Montaigne's philosophy is the idea that life is best lived with a sense of humor and lightness. Montaigne often used wit and irony to discuss human weakness, using humor as a tool for understanding and coping with our flaws. Through his playful and candid reflections on his own imperfections, he reminded us that taking ourselves too seriously only leads to unnecessary distress. Laughter, he suggested, is not only a way to cope with the chaos of life but also a path toward deeper self-acceptance. When we laugh at our own shortcomings, we not only disarm our anxieties but also liberate ourselves from the shame and guilt that often accompany imperfection. Humor allows us to see life through a more forgiving lens, accepting that mistakes and failures are simply part of the journey rather than sources of shame. In a world that is obsessed with achievement, success, and perfection, Montaigne's philosophy offers a refreshing alternative, embracing imperfection as an essential part of being human. The pressure to conform to society's ideals of success and beauty can be stifling, leaving little room for vulnerability, growth, or self-expression. However, when we stop trying to be perfect, we unlock new possibilities for creativity, connection, and joy. Embracing imperfection does not mean resigning ourselves to mediocrity or giving up on personal growth. It means recognizing that our flaws are what make us unique and beautiful. It means allowing ourselves the freedom to be human, with all the messiness and contradictions that come with it. Moreover, embracing imperfection allows us to cultivate deeper connections with others. When we accept our own imperfections, we are better able to relate to the flaws of those around us. We become more empathetic, understanding that everyone is on their own journey of growth, with their own struggles and setbacks. This creates space for authentic relationships, where vulnerability is met with acceptance rather than judgment. By letting go of the need to appear perfect, we open ourselves to deeper intimacy, both with ourselves and with others. Creativity, too, flourishes in an environment where imperfection is embraced. When we stop fearing failure and mistakes, we allow ourselves the freedom to experiment, take risks, and innovate. The most groundbreaking ideas often emerge from moments of trial and error, when we're not afraid to get things wrong. Imperfection is the fertile ground in which creativity can bloom, unfettered by the constraints of perfectionism. In the end, Montaigne's philosophy invites us to view imperfection not as a flaw, but as a fundamental aspect of the human condition. The beauty of being human lies in our vulnerability, our mistakes, and our contradictions. By letting go of the pursuit of perfection, we allow ourselves to live more freely, more authentically, and more fully. The act of embracing imperfection is an act of self-compassion, a declaration that we are enough as we are. It is a reminder that life is not about achieving perfection, but about experiencing it all, the triumphs, the failures, and everything in between, with grace, humor, and acceptance. When we embrace imperfection, we discover the true beauty of living, finding joy not in being flawless, but in being wonderfully, imperfectly human. The illusion of others' opinions, finding inner freedom. One of Montaigne's most liberating ideas is that the opinions of others should hold little power over our lives. He recognized that humans have an innate tendency to seek validation, but he warned against letting external judgments dictate our self-worth. In his essays, he observed that people are often preoccupied with how they are perceived, leading to unnecessary anxiety and self-doubt. Montaigne's response to this dilemma was radical for his time: stop seeking approval. He believed that true wisdom comes from knowing oneself rather than relying on external validation. This is not to say that he advocated for complete indifference, but rather a balanced detachment, acknowledging others' perspectives without being controlled by them. Modern psychology supports this notion. Studies show that excessive concern about others' opinions, often referred to as the spotlight effect, can lead to stress and reduced self-esteem. People tend to overestimate how much attention others give to their actions, when in reality, most are too focused on their own lives to scrutinize ours. Montaigne also emphasized that opinions are fickle and ever-changing. What is praised today may be criticized tomorrow, and vice versa. By freeing ourselves from the weight of external judgment, we gain the courage to live authentically. This mindset shift allows us to pursue our passions, make bold decisions, and cultivate genuine self-confidence. A practical application of Montaigne's insight is learning to embrace self-reliance. By focusing on internal values rather than external approval, we develop a stronger sense of identity and resilience. This shift not only reduces anxiety but also fosters a more fulfilling and autonomous life. In today's digital age, where social media amplifies external validation, Montaigne's philosophy is more relevant than ever. His teachings remind us that real freedom lies in detaching from the illusion of others' judgments and embracing our true selves. The power of self-reflection, understanding the self without judgment. Montaigne's philosophy also places great importance on the art of self-reflection. Rather than rushing through life or seeking external validation, Montaigne believed that one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is time to reflect. In his essays, he often delves into his own weaknesses, flaws, and even his fears, not to criticize himself, but to understand the human condition more deeply. For Montaigne, self-reflection was not an exercise in self-judgment, but in self-discovery. In one of his most famous passages, Montaigne wrote, "I am myself the matter of my own book." Through this quote, he highlights that true wisdom comes from knowing oneself, acknowledging both the light and dark aspects of our personalities. Rather than focusing on what others think of us, Montaigne encouraged us to understand our own thoughts and emotions with kindness and curiosity. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to forget the value of introspection. We are often too distracted by the noise of the external world, social media, work, the opinions of others, to spend time understanding ourselves. However, research in psychology shows that self-reflection can significantly improve emotional intelligence, enhance decision-making, and reduce stress. By taking time to pause, reflect, and simply be with ourselves, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace that Montaigne believed was essential to living a fulfilling life. Moreover, Montaigne's perspective on self-reflection is not about being critical or judgmental of ourselves, but rather about learning to embrace our complexities. As humans, we are contradictory beings, sometimes brave, other times fearful, sometimes wise, other times foolish. Rather than seeing these contradictions as weaknesses, Montaigne urges us to accept them as part of our shared humanity. This compassionate acceptance leads to greater inner peace and, ultimately, a deeper sense of freedom. The paradox of surrendering to life's flow, a new kind of strength. As we explore Montaigne's philosophy further, we begin to see a paradox emerge. True strength, according to Montaigne, comes from surrendering control. This notion is counterintuitive to the modern mindset, where strength is often equated with power, assertiveness, and dominance. However, Montaigne's writings suggest that real strength lies in the ability to let go and embrace uncertainty. In many ways, this aligns with the ideas of other philosophers like Lao Tzu and even modern teachings of mindfulness and meditation. By surrendering the need to control every aspect of life, we paradoxically open ourselves to a more powerful, authentic existence. Montaigne didn't suggest passivity, but rather a harmonious participation in life's flow, accepting that we cannot control everything, but we can control how we respond. This surrender doesn't mean we give up on our goals or dreams, but rather that we stop obsessing over the outcome. Montaigne's radical idea was that by not caring too much about what happens, we make space for life to unfold naturally, without the resistance that often leads to unnecessary frustration. For example, in relationships, the more we try to force connection, the more we distance ourselves from true intimacy. By letting go of expectations and being present, we allow our connections to flourish on their own. Psychological studies show that letting go of rigid expectations and being open to life's natural course promotes better mental health. When we focus too much on outcomes, whether it's in our career, our relationships, or our personal achievements, we often increase our stress levels and decrease our sense of satisfaction. Montaigne's wisdom suggests that we can find fulfillment in the act of living itself, rather than in the pursuit of a distant, often unattainable, goal. The power of non-attachment, freedom from desire. Another key aspect of Montaigne's philosophy is the notion of non-attachment. While many of us are taught to relentlessly pursue our desires, Montaigne argued that true peace comes from freeing ourselves from the need to constantly acquire, achieve, or control. This idea echoes the teachings of the Buddha, who proposed that desire is the root of suffering. Montaigne, too, believed that our attachment to worldly desires often leads to unnecessary pain and frustration. For Montaigne, non-attachment wasn't about renouncing material things or success, but rather about understanding that our happiness doesn't depend on these external factors. Whether we gain or lose material possessions, relationships, or status, the key to a fulfilling life is realizing that our inner peace doesn't rely on external circumstances. This perspective is incredibly liberating. When we stop attaching our self-worth to external markers of success, such as wealth, status, or approval from others, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of striving and disappointment. Instead, we can cultivate a sense of fulfillment that comes from within, from simply being content with who we are and where we are in life. Conclusion: a life of true freedom. Michel de Montaigne's philosophy teaches us that true wisdom and happiness come not from trying harder, but from letting go. It's about surrendering the need to control life, embracing imperfection, finding freedom from the opinions of others, and practicing self-reflection with kindness and curiosity. By adopting this mindset, we can experience life more fully and authentically, with less anxiety, more peace, and greater joy. As we navigate our modern world, where the pressure to succeed, perfect ourselves, and gain external validation is ever present, Montaigne's radical ideas offer a refreshing alternative. They remind us that sometimes, the best way to move forward is to let go, trust the flow of life, and accept ourselves as we are, flaws and all. In the end, Montaigne's philosophy challenges us to question the pursuit of perfection and instead embrace the beauty of imperfection, freedom, and peace. By caring less about outcomes and focusing more on the present moment, we can create a life that is not only fulfilling but truly ours. If Montaigne's philosophy resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment on what stood out the most, and share it with those who could use a calmer perspective on life. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and keep exploring the philosophy that can transform the way you live. See you in the next video.